everyone, welcome to
Hi,
Dice Jailers. I am Jordan,
I'm Bjorn.
and this week we are going to talk very in depth about tropes.
We're gonna top
But
some tropes.
nope, yep, we've already had the slip of the tongue once, and I regret all of it. Uh, but first, before we get into all of that, how you been, Bjorn?
No, not too bad. Not too bad. This week is warmer than I would like. Today, in particular, thought
Yep.
we were getting past some of this nonsense, but
Well, no, it's the mini heat wave, baby.
I know it's got to come back just to piss me off. But oh
Well,
yeah,
that and
doing a
there's another. I think it's called like a heat shell or a heat bubble or something like that. But it's mostly hitting the Midwest right now, which is
that I'm aware
so
of.
unfortunate for them.
I I love the Cascade Mountain Range more than anything in the universe right now, as it's the only reason we are not completely smoked out and
Yeah.
burning. And not that my deepest sympathies don't go out to them, but there is also a phrase I learned a long time ago called "better you than me," and
Yeah.
like if it's got to be somebody, I'm glad it's not me.
Yeah.
It's just you know survival of the selfish sometimes, and I'll admit to it.
All right,
Um,
Rogue, calm down.
is what it is. Yeah, I've been having fun writing some of the last stuff for our campaign, starting work for the next one. Right
Hmm.
now, trying to come up with a couple different fun one shot ideas. I have a totally stupid idea to pitch to you off stream because if we don't go with it, I don't want to throw it out there
Right.
to, you know,
Get the people's
be
hopes up,
recorded
and then it never
perfectly.
happens.
Exactly. But yeah, I've been trying to just kind of relax for a couple weeks before we get back into craziness. Because as stuff has started to open up, I realized I need to get a new headshot. I
Yeah.
need to
Yeah.
update my stuff
Yeah.
online, and
Oof.
then I can start submitting for things again.
Yeah.
Because my headshot has the shortest of short hair on it, is clean shaven,
Oof.
and is wearing a sport coat. So
It's still that one?
it is,
Oh,
yeah. I haven't
buddy.
changed it.
Yeah.
Well, I only started growing my hair out right before the damn pandemic.
Right.
Like I looked just enough like it when my hair was starting to get a little shaggy that I could pass. And
Right.
then everything shut down. I kept growing it. And I'm like, oh, whatever. Well, here we are, year and a half in, and I'm going, oh,
Yeah.
I should probably update. I'm surprised there are places that'll serve me liquor, like when they ask for ID. I think they can just
Hmm.
tell I'm old as shit because when they
Yo,
ask for it, I don't look like my ID at
my
all.
ID still has an
So,
afro, my dude.
I mean, okay, my ID is like two driver's licenses ago, so we're
They
talking.
didn't have you take a new picture or anything?
No, I renewed it online.
Oh, fair.
Yeah, so it literally looks like I stole my younger brother's ID.
Jesus.
So if it wasn't for the fact that he has the year of birth, they look at that and they're like, "Yep, he's 40. You're all right."
Just hand him a Blockbuster card. It'll be fine.
Hey, that's right. Hollywood Video. Thank you very much. We did not have a
Oof.
blockbuster in my town.
Okay. All
Well,
right.
we didn't have one.
Uh, See, no,
But
I
yeah,
feel you. I feel you on the headshot front. 'Cause my last professional headshot, I was in college.
there you go. There you go. Yeah, yeah. Last ones I got done, a friend did them as a favor, and I say favor in terms of how little they charged me for a massive collection of edited images. So
Yeah.
I milked those as long as I could, and they have run their course.
Who was it, Scott?
No, no, no.
Oh.
It's a buddy of mine up in Gadget.
Word.
Yeah, and but here we are. So
It's
there it
weird to
is.
have. It's weird to have so many friends that are photographers.
If you have friends who are performers, learn to take good headshots. You can make some easy cash
Oh yeah.
because people will be like, "Oh shit, generals are coming up. I need a headshot," and you can just go, $100. I'll have them
Yep.
for you in two
Yep.
days.
Generals.
Yeah, you'll have them lined up down the damn block.
Oh yeah.
So what's good? I know you got big things going on this weekend.
Yeah, I've got a lot of stuff that I've been getting done. And I have been preparing for it by wasting all of my time on TikTok and
Sure.
uh so the game that I was talking about a couple weeks ago that I got to play in the beta for, it just did its big release like 2 days ago.
Nice.
So I've been playing that instead of doing all the things that I need to do
Yeah.
to be ready to officiate my friend's wedding on Saturday. Uh, but
You know
like I
what?
at least I did go and like pick up my suit after it got altered. So like I've got it. It looks great. I thought about wearing it for the stream, but it's too damn hot.
Yeah,
Uh
you're not wrong. Well, I would say don't worry about all the stuff you need to say, like you're officiating. Just rewatch Spaceballs, do the short version. Do you? Do you? Good, you're married, kiss, and that's it. You can be done in all of about 14 and a half
See,
seconds.
there's a lot of me that almost wants to do that because they and most of their families would absolutely recognize that reference. Uh, but I'm still trying to make it like relatively normal for them
Oh,
because it is
sure.
their big day.
I
Uh,
guess.
like if I was specifically asked to do that, 100% down would do it. Uh, but Anna wants it to be short, but still a
But
ceremony.
meaningful.
Yeah.
That
So
that's
I've got to pare down all the different things that I've thought about saying and pick like which one I'm gonna do.
that's good. They want to keep it short, though. I don't know about you. I've been to some weddings where the ceremony itself was literally over an hour and a half long,
No,
and
why?
I can tell you after about 10 minutes, literally no one in that building cares.
Yep.
No, they everyone's like, we want to get to the food and alcohol.
Mm-hmm. Like
That is what
we love you, we get it. Let's celebrate rather than
wrap it
just
up.
sit here and watch
Wrap it
this play no one asked for.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a stereotypical thing. Weddings going on too long. Like it
Yep.
happens. It happens a lot. That's
And
why
we
they
all
make
know about it. And there are ways to do long weddings that are good.
Mhm.
Uh, but if you don't put any thought into them, it can go very badly.
It can. And like anything stereotypical and that you're used to that just is a total convention, they can be sometimes they work well and many times they don't, or they can be overused.
Mm-hmm. And that's what we'd call a segue and a trope.
That's right. That is why I am completely dressed like 1991 Seattle because my with my hair being a little longer than usual. That's why I'm sweating my balls off. Is just for the trope joke of looking like an extra from Singles.
Wow. Oh, I need some stitches for that deep cut.
Mhm.
Damn.
By the way, good movie holds up.
God
Arguably,
damn.
arguably the greatest soundtrack of all time.
I
I
was
will,
I
I
was
will,
not ready for that deep of a cut. Holy
I
shit, that
will,
was a crit.
I will die on that hill. Singles, that soundtrack, I'll put up against any soundtrack ever, ever, ever.
Oh man. So let's
Anyhow, we're
talk
talking
about
about tropes.
tropes.
About to do an episode on our favorite soundtracks.
No, because we'll go over time way too easily on
We
that.
we will because what we'll do is we'll just start putting them on and listening, and then the show will get pulled.
Yeah, and Twitch will mute our audio and all that. And,
Oh, but
I mean,
yeah,
it would just be B2K's "You Got Served." B2K caterate did put together and orchestrated all of that soundtrack, and even though most of the songs on the soundtrack aren't actually in the film, the soundtrack is fire.
that's Dan. No, I got no argument against that one. That one's solid.
Yep. Anyway,
Yes, storytelling tropes. You
we're
hear
gonna
the trope,
talk. Yeah,
yeah, the
we're
word
gonna
is
talk.
usually about with a negative connotation. You
hmm
notice that?
A lot of
And
times, especially around new players, the
yeah,
older players are like, "Hey, don't do this trope. We've seen it a million times." And the only time that newer players hear about things being a trope is when it's bad, and that's
right.
unfortunate because a lot of tropes can be really, really fun.
They can, and there's a reason that they are tropes. Like a trope is just simply it's like it's to literature like a figure of speech is two words. I guess
Yeah.
when you're talking literary tropes, I guess a figure of speech is a trope in itself. But
hmm
yeah, it's those character archetypes or story beats or plot lines that you've seen time and time again, but slightly fashioned and repurposed
hmm
in different ways. It's
Like
that
all of you storytelling nerds, the classic "The Hero's Journey." That's a trope.
It really is.
And if you
It
don't know about
absolutely is.
that, look it up because we're not going to go in depth on it today. But
No,
you should because it is very interesting and will change how you look at a lot of storytelling.
you're not wrong. The only other comment I'll make on that is when I saw the story beats of the hero's journey broken down, it actually tells you how to tell that story in a compelling way.
Yep.
Because when you hit those beats, they hit on those emotional touchstones for people.
Mm-hmm.
And they go, "Oh, I know this part. I'm excited for this." They know when to feel suspense. They know when to feel excitement, and you can also know when to turn those on their ear.
Yep.
So
And that's what tropes are amazing for. Is it something that people are ready for? Kind of. You
yeah,
know.
like the kind of the first one I really want to talk about is
Mm-hmm.
this is not for a player character trope. This is for the DMs out there, and it's super cliche. And I've got a kind of a couple pieces to add on to it. It's sort of a three in one, but it is the trope of the Dark Lord. You
Ah.
have your
Mm-hmm.
classic archetypical villain that really is the engine behind so much of your story.
Right.
It is you must defeat and bring down this Dark Lord. You'll see this in the Black Cauldron. This is element of Lord of the Rings, even though Sauron hadn't fully come back. That was the purpose of destroying the ring. Like this idea of this
I
all
mean, it's
power
Superman.
it is. Like it's this all-powerful evil menace that has to be stopped at all costs. And generally, this character is intelligent. They're powerful. They have many forces that they can deploy, and they don't often engage with the protagonists
Mm-hmm.
until near the
Yeah,
climax
they're
of
very much the puppet master.
yeah. And you will see if you go like JRPGs, you will get the bigger big bad evil guy. Where when the Dark Lord is
Oh.
brought down, you find out there was a puppet master behind that one
Yep.
who's even bigger and more powerful. And I know a lot of people roll their eyes when that one
See,
happens,
I
but
I love it.
so do I. Because done well, I'm excited for that greater, more powerful evil. And if done well, it is actually really compelling. I look at Final Fantasy X as an example of this, where
Mm-hmm.
you think, spoiler alert, you think
You've
Sin
had enough time.
you have is going to be your big bad evil, and then you find out it's this force, Yu Yevon, that's continually resurrecting things, and you have characters literally sacrificing themselves to take this down.
Yeah.
It's a tearjerker of an ending, but it's so good. And the other piece I want to add on here is as far as a tropey thing for your big bad evil guy. It's not. It's sort of a Dark Lord thing, but it's the horror movie villain trope of the one who just keeps get up. It's the Michael Myers thing
Mm-hmm.
where you see him go down and you look and the body isn't there, so obviously it's still somewhere. Um, I think you can use your Dark Lord in a way where rather than have them just the climax, have them where they're able to get up and it's terrifying, or they can escape, or they can be destroyed and come back. I think of like a Lich, for
Yep.
example, where your players kill them and they think, this is great. We totally won. And then a few days later, they see this Dark Lord again, who's
Mm-hmm.
just going, okay, now it's personal.
It's
And
you got me once, and now I have to end you.
yeah, and you can actually take a really dark turn in a story there where it could have been a fairly bright hero's journey up until that point. They destroy the Dark Lord. They think all is one.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's a lich or some other creature that has a way of coming back, like a Rakshasa, for
Something
example.
like that. Yeah.
And now you have them causing violence or just tormenting people or things or locations that those characters care about.
Absolutely.
You can take a very dark turn in a story, and this is what I love about the Dark Lord trope is I think it gives you a lot of flexibility in your big bad evil guy, which is a trope in
Mm-hmm.
itself. But I love starting with that Dark Lord where early on your players know who it is, and it is this constant threat that
Yeah.
they're aware of the whole campaign. It's like our campaign with the Necromancer Tregtar.
Goddamn Tregtar.
He's been there for over 2 years of your lives, and it has been this constant thing.
Well, and
And
it's the with something you were saying before you started to mention Tregtar, uh, was that it's a common thread that I found when thinking of stuff for this episode
yeah,
is that the way to make tropes not suck is to just to use them more than just like, all right, here's the trope, it will do all the work for me.
yeah, pick the ones that excite you.
Yep. And that's why the first trope that I want to talk about comes up to mind, because I have personally used this trope a lot for my own characters, for NPCs, and
Sure.
it's one that everyone knows and most people hate, uh, and it is hands down for a pen and paper one of the most cliche player character tropes, and that is the dead parents. Yeah,
Yes.
and like the dead parents trope, like we all know it. If you played a tabletop role playing game, you've had someone in your party that just like, what's their dark backstory? Well, my parents are dead. Uh, and there's a lot of reason why that trope exists and continues, and that's because people that are happy with their lives don't go risking their lives for adventuring. And
Well,
so it's a very easy, like, this is why I can go adventuring and maybe die, is because I have nothing to connect me to the rest of the world.
and it's a great point. Like you talk about the whole orphan thing. Like Batman is one of the most popular characters in
Mm-hmm.
all history.
Dead parents.
Broody orphan. It's a broody orphan.
Like,
Like,
if you're the main character in an anime, kill your parents now.
yep, yeah. Because if you don't,
Like,
your nemesis will.
yep,
Just
100%.
it's gonna happen.
And so, like, and people use this so badly because, again, like with most tropes, they expect the trope itself to do all the work for them. But like you mentioned with Batman, the reason why it works with Batman is because yes, his parents are dead, but that's not the only part of Batman's backstory. It's all of
Exactly.
these other things. It's also the way that you use it as a player character for your backstory is you give your character an Alfred.
Yep.
Your character, just because their parents are dead, doesn't mean that they don't have any other meaningful connections. And
Yes.
that's how you can still use this trope and still have it be fun, because one of the biggest problems with that trope, especially for player characters, is that your DM doesn't have a whole lot of good ways to include your character in the story, except for, well, here are your parents' murderers, go get them.
Right. And having the Joe chill, if we're using the Batman example, isn't
Mm,
always the most exciting or interesting thing.
yeah.
Have have creative ways maybe that your character's parents are dead. It
Hmm.
doesn't need to be one person that did it. It can be that a
Yeah.
plague came through your town and only a few people seem to survive and
Yeah.
you're one of them. Or heck, make it that you're the only survivor of that plague and you don't know why. And if you give that to your DM of
Hmm.
only one who survived this plague that came through that killed everybody, and I don't know why. If I'm the DM, I'm so excited for that nugget.
Right,
I'm
because
like,
there are
oh
so many other things you can do.
yeah, I'm like, this will come up, and there'll be people who find out, oh, that's where you're from. You're the one who survived. Get away from me.
Hmm.
Like,
And there's also the thing with the like everyone that I love is dead trope, is that it almost always is attached to a brooding character.
yes,
And you don't necessarily need to do that. Like, yes, everyone is dead, and that's why my character takes nothing for granted and they're really happy go lucky. Like,
that is a
that's
great
a
point.
fun way to turn it.
Like, yeah,
Or like
have that twist.
everyone is dead and I want to live up to their memory by being even greater. Like something
Yeah,
like that.
you have somebody who embraces every second of life because they know how precious it is. That character is 100 times more interesting than I always sit in the corner. I'm super broody. Like you give so much, and again, it's like you just said, it's a little different. It's a way to turn it. I'm not saying you can't use I'm super broody and dark and morose and oh, everyone I care about is dead. I'm not saying it can't be interesting and can't work well. However, I often see it devolve into a character who doesn't play well with others, who
Yeah.
doesn't want to interact with the party so much. I would just encourage a player, if you want to go down that I'm super broody path, have plans for how you're going to open up to one or more party
Hmm.
members where you have this interesting connection, and and make it over something that's not violent.
Yep. Make it
I
over something like one of my favorites that I've seen that I can't like it lives rent free in my brain all the time, and I haven't been able to find it since. But it was
Sure.
this little, it was this just short scene from an anime that I can't remember which one, but there was the brooding character right next to the like incredibly bubbly character,
Right.
and at one point the incredibly bubbly character points out that she loves frogs, and the brooding guy just, yeah, me too. They're really cool. And that was the thing. That was the thing that connected those two and started those character, that brooding character opening up. And like, one, I as a person also love frogs, so there's that attaches me to that. But
Right.
just a little freaking nonsense thing that's just like, I love frogs. Yeah, me too.
It humanizes the character. Like it
Exactly.
makes them three dimensional, makes them more real.
Because you have to have your character with dead parents have more to their life than just their dead parents, because you
Yes.
would. Like, yes, that's a huge life altering event, and you're not gonna minimize that, because that's kind of a big deal,
Right.
but that character still has favorite foods and, like, things that they enjoyed doing before.
Well, and like using the Batman example, I think if you're going to go into, in my personal opinion, the iterations of that character that are interesting, it's the ones where we learn about how smart Bruce Wayne slash Batman is.
Mm,
He's supposed to be
mm-hmm.
the world's greatest detective. Yes, he's this amazing hand to hand fighter, beats people up, blah 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 blah. Cool.
Because Ra's al Ghul, baby!
Yeah, but if you go more into what he studied, how he learned these things, he obviously poured his life into learning how to be a detective, learning how
Mm-hmm.
to investigate these things. That interests me a lot more. And again, that's what to me makes the character interesting, because it's like, well, he clearly didn't just brood in this cave under the manor and just do push-ups all day.
Nope, he was doing push ups over books.
Exactly. Like go into how intelligent, if your character is intelligent,
Yeah,
often, because obviously oftentimes if it's going to be the dead parents, you're probably playing a rogue.
most likely.
Let's be honest about ourselves. And if you're being really broody, you're probably playing a rogue.
Yeah,
Be honest about ourselves. So your highest stat is probably your dex. And me as a DM, that's great. That's wonderful. Your next two highest stats, those are the stories I want to know. Why
absolutely.
are they so high? What did you do with them? Those proficiencies you have. Think about that. Why are you proficient in religion?
Yep,
Why? Why do you have that proficiency? Because now, if you're proficient in religion, you might actually have some kinship with a cleric or paladin.
yep.
Maybe you don't. Maybe you learned about it for different reasons, but that can become really interesting
Like,
when you
maybe you're
looked at.
playing a modern set game, and that, proficiency in religion is because your character before your parents died went to Catholic school,
Yes,
or went to, I mean, pick a religious school, because there
exactly.
are all of them dotting the globe. Uh, but yeah, you can do things like that. And so that's a good way to turn the dead parents trope, is just to give us more than just your parents are dead.
Yes, like flesh that character out to give both your fellow players and your DM a lot more to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And
here's
what's
one.
your next trope, bud?
This one is, if you're a player character, you cannot, and I repeat, cannot use this as the basis of your character unless the whole point of your character is that they're wrong about this. It is the
Okay.
trope of the chosen one. That
Oh my god, yes.
like it's it I see it happen sometimes where you get someone who has main character syndrome in a D&D game, and
Hmm.
you can't have main character syndrome.
No, and it doesn't matter which pen and paper you're playing. If you have main character syndrome, you make it not fun for everyone else. So leave.
Honestly, or it becomes not fun for you because you won't be the main character.
Yeah,
Um, like it's just a recipe for disaster as a player character unless you turn it on its head. Honestly, like this isn't me trying to pat myself on the back super hard because other people helped me come up with this concept. This wasn't like purely out of my brain,
hmm,
but through brainstorming, came up with an idea with some folks of what if there was this character. It was a paladin by chance who they believed that this prophecy was talking about them, that they were literally descended from a god and they were going to go forth and rid the land of all evil. And the thing
great.
is,
Do it. It'll work so well.
if you actually analyze the prophecy, it could have applied to almost anyone from where they were from. It was clearly a story told to
Right.
children to be like, you could be anything. But he really latched onto it to be like, no, 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 no. It really is me because this, and this. It's like people who take their horoscopes way too seriously. Like,
Wow. Thanks for doing that to us.
no, hey, I am not poo pooing astrology. Like, I'm saying there are people who take it too seriously. And all I mean by that is there are people that if you lie to them about your sign, they'll go into all these things about everything about you makes so much sense. And if you go, that's great. Well, I'm actually a this. And they quickly have a okay, but it actually makes sense because of this. It's like you're forcing the narrative to fit.
right.
I will not poo-poo astrology, tarot, anything like that. I've paid for tarot readings in my life. I find all that stuff fascinating. But there are people who take it too seriously.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. But again, that was the concept I had of this character, and it worked well because I had a plan that there was going to be a point where it was revealed to him, you're no chosen one.
Right. You're just Dave.
You're a guy. You are a guy, and he was going to have to make a choice of whether that was going to break him or go, well, I got this far, so see what happens. The campaign
Hmm.
never got that far, but I enjoyed it. However, it's a dangerous thing to do as a player character.
Very
Had I not
yes.
talked to other people specifically in the campaign, I would have never done it because I had their buy-in on it and they knew where it was going. However, where you can make the chosen one work is with an NPC. And that NPC should be either a child, like an infant, or feeble, or hasn't gotten to where they need to be yet. I think of Elora Danan from the movie Willow, the
Okay.
the chosen one who will rule Tirasleen and bring down Nockmar and bring peace to the land, but it's a friggin' baby. Can't
Yep.
do a damn thing yet. I love that because now everyone's invested of this is who we have to protect.
Hmm.
Have to risk everything to protect them. And so I love the chosen one trope because we see it again and again and
Yeah.
again. But
Yeah.
usually you get the story that follows the main character. I would say in Star Wars, like Luke Skywalker has a very chosen one trope.
You know who a lot of people care more about? Han goddamn Solo.
because he's the best character from the franchise. Like,
Yeah.
let's be honest.
But
Uh,
also, like, no, most people's favorite character from the franchise is not the chosen one.
No, it's not. It rarely is.
Yeah.
Because the chosen one isn't usually interesting.
Yep.
They don't usually have a flaw to them. And that's not always bad. Sometimes the chosen one can be done well. I would argue
Yep.
that in Lord of the Rings, you had two people with chosen one tropes, both
Hmm.
in Aragorn and in Frodo.
Yes. Very
And
yes.
Frodo ultimately failed, which is what makes his so interesting.
Hmm.
Like, he couldn't do it because the evil was too powerful, and Aragorn only rose to where he did because of the faith of those around him.
Hmm.
Like,
Because
he had self doubt.
he had he had the trope of the power of friendship, uh,
Exactly.
which isn't one that was on my list to talk about, but we could.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good one, but
Yeah. See,
yeah, the chosen one trope. I think the only way that can work in a D&D game is it has to it has to organically manifest through the story where events unfold in a certain way where it becomes very clear
Yeah.
that one party member in particular is going to be chosen to do something. I look at Vaxel Dan
Yep.
from season 1 of
It's
Critical Role.
yeah, it's very much a thing in a pen and paper where the DM has to make that choice
Yep.
rather than the player playing the character making that choice.
Yeah, you don't get to say I'm the chosen one
Yep.
because the
You
chosen
you
one
get
doesn't.
told you're the chosen one.
Yeah.
Uh my I would be remiss if we did not mention my personal favorite chosen one trope,
Yep.
and that is from Spy Kids 3D, the guy. Hands down my favorite use of that trope because it's just like the guy's gonna save us, the guy, and then the guy shows up and immediately dead.
Not saving you now.
Just immediately dead. Oh, I guess he was not the chosen
Yeah, like the story of King Arthur is interesting and all that, the sword and the stone. But let's face it, in Arthurian legend, a lot of us are more interested once we're around the round table and all the knights are going out and doing their stuff.
one.
I don't actually care how Homeboy got there,
No, not really.
unless it's Disney Sword and the Stone, because that's
Because
awesome.
that was art.
But frankly, I care more about Merlin
Oh, what hands down.
because Merlin's the best character.
Give me a
Well,
grumpy
Madam Mim.
yeah, Madam Nim. But give me a grumpy, vaguely gay old wizard, and I'm going to be here for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If I could talk about sort of the close but not quite on the chosen one,
Absolutely.
if somebody really wants to have a character sort of like that, I'm gonna go to the Disney well again, and I'm gonna go with the diamond in the rough. I'm gonna mention Aladdin
Yeah.
because you're not totally the chosen one, but it's someone who's more than they seem to be on the surface, who
Mhm.
has a lot of potential, and that to me is really cool. It's you see it manifest in so many ways in films.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I would say like the diamond in the rough. I would call Captain America more the diamond in the rough than the chosen one. Steve Rogers was scrawny.
Yep.
You know, I can do this all day while he's getting his ass kicked. The one who in the first Cap movie jumps on the grenade that he doesn't know is a dud as everyone else jumps away.
Mhm.
There's more to him than what's on the surface. So then he becomes the Cap we all know and love.
Yeah.
And that character to me is more interesting than simply the chosen one. You're great. You're going to do all this stuff. Go ahead and do it. I'll watch the chosen one's movie. I absolutely will. I just don't think they're interesting in a role-playing game.
Yeah. And like and with that Captain America version of the chosen one, it's very much the you've made yourself into the chosen one rather
Yes.
than just being the chosen one.
Correct. Correct.
And
Which
it
is
gives
the choices you make as you level up.
yeah. Uh now I specifically picked some tropes. My first two that I plan to talk about, I specifically picked ones that people do that suck most of the time.
I'm here for this.
And I don't want to put this out into the world that much because I realize that a number of the people that I personally share this to are very new at D&D and don't and maybe didn't even know this trope was possible. And so I don't know if it's amnesia. Yeah. That's the trope of, well, my character doesn't remember everything or anything. It's because you didn't write a backstory.
You were too lazy.
Right? That's why the trope comes up so much around tables, is because you have that one friend that's kind of into gaming, but it doesn't really know what's going on. And so rather than just make a strong choice and go with it and hope, they chose no choice.
Which is weak.
And it sucks because there's nothing you can do with that.
Yes.
Because a character with no backstory is impossible to loop into a story.
It really is.
And
And
you're just kind of there for the ride. And unless that's a specific character choice, it's something that happens to you that no one likes.
I'll also say in fifth edition, it is bullshit to make that choice because the background section in the
Yep.
player's handbook will help you build something so quick where you don't even have to do it yourself. You just roll some dice.
Mm-hmm.
You can use the quick build for any
Yeah.
class.
And most pen and paper games have a quick build section now.
Yeah.
Like that's just a thing that's become normalized in pen and paper manuals. Is like, hey, you want to kind of do this? Here's a quick build, really quick. Take
Yeah.
this, go.
Like every single one of the backgrounds, when you roll, if you roll on those tables, you could come up with what I think is a rather well fleshed out and pretty interesting character as long as you role play your results and you just give your results to the DM. It's literally it's less than 10 sentences total.
Yeah.
But it gives a DM so much to work with. Because at that point they can go, "Oh, you chose Outlander. Oh, okay, you're not okay. Here's where you're from. Here's all you need to know." There
But
you
so
go.
with Amnesia, like, and it's able to be used well in literature and in like film and in TV. And the reason why it works well in those is the same thing that you can do to actually make it work around your table and not be bad like everyone knows it to be.
Yes.
And that is, you and the DM have to know what your character doesn't.
Exactly.
That's all you need.
You could have amnesia if you wrote the backstory
Mm-hmm.
and you
And
gave it
then,
to the DM and you said, "Here's the
yeah,
backstory. My character has amnesia. Sprinkle this liberally throughout the campaign wherever you
yeah.
wish."
And then after that, it's fucking glorious. Especially if you work with your DM heavily, and again, you'll have to find a DM that's willing to put in this work with you. But if you say, like, hey, my character's from here, and he does not remember any of his friends from there, that is, if the DM is willing to go with that, that is wonderful because, yes, you need to know kind of what you need to know your character's backstory, even if your character has amnesia.
Right.
But you can specifically tell your DM, these are things that I want to leave out, so they are still surprises to me as a player.
Yep.
And if you pick those specifically, like, I love if those picks are connections with NPCs.
Yeah.
Like, this is a sandwich shop that your character used to go to every day while they were a blacksmith. You didn't know you were a blacksmith. You're just traveling around, you head into that town, and a dude that recognizes you as your characters are going into town to get food just asks you how you've been because you haven't been around the smith.
Yeah.
And you're just like, wait, what? Who? Yes, that's me. That's definitely me. I know
And
exactly what you're talking about.
and that stuff's great. And it's like we talked about on our backgrounds episode, where leave those gaps for your DM to fill in. Because again, if you write a 50-page backstory, your DM is not reading it.
I
They're
mean,
not.
I might, but I'm also a very different DM than most.
True. I'm definitely not reading it. I'll skim it, but that 50-page document, I got shit to do, man.
Yep.
I got so much of this world to flesh out. You want me to spend
You
50
mean
pages on your ass? Not happening.
you mean you're not gonna read all of the letters I'm writing out to the,
I
to the
read every letter
NPCs?
you send me for your character. I read every single one of them. That's different. But if you were like, here's 50 pages on my character's backstory, I'm going to hand you back a note card. You know what the note card says on it? You're level 1.
Yeah.
You don't have 50 pages of backstory yet. Doesn't exist.
Yep.
Doesn't happen.
And that is a good thing to mention.
Mentions when you took your first doo-doo, there's no way you're filling in your 50 pages.
That is one good thing to mention about if you're going to use an amnesia plot and you have written the backstory, it's tough to do an amnesia plot with a character that's level 1.
Yeah,
unless
make sure you know what level you're starting at.
Unless part of that amnesia is also you have forgotten how to fight, how to spell cast. Like,
Yes.
that can be fine. I would stray away from using the version of that trope of like you were some ridiculously all-powerful like archfey that has been
Yeah, don't do
mind
that.
blinked into being mortal. Like, don't go that far. Uh, just be, an above average normal character for whatever your game is that got mind wiped. And this can be very, very easy and fun to do if you're playing in in a sci-fi. Specifically, I'm thinking of the Star Wars TTRPG,
Yes.
because you can play as a droid, and
Yep.
droids get their minds wiped all the time.
Oh, yes, they do. The one other way amnesia can work really well is as a DM tool, and all your players have to be in on this, where your players do not know their stats, their proficiencies, their race, their class. They know
Mm-hmm.
nothing. They just get a blank character sheet with a name on it and maybe some hit points, and they
Yep.
get to fill it in as they go, as they learn things. When someone says like, "Oh, don't see a whole lot of half orcs around here," it's like, "Okay, I'm a half orc."
Oh,
Like,
that explains the tusks.
yeah, you can have a really interesting adventure that way. I would say make sure you're a DM that can pull it off. Like
Yeah,
that's I would never run that. 'Cause I don't think I could pull it
like
off.
take take a year or two of like improv classes
Yeah.
before pulling
Yeah.
that off. And as an improv teacher, I very rarely will suggest that someone take improv classes. But this is a time where if you're going to do that,
Do it.
have some actual improv, like some actual trained, learned in a
Yes.
classroom improv knowledge under your
Have the
belt.
have the tools at your disposal. Uh, I got
I
I got
said,
one
I said, telling no one to take my classes that used to pay my rent.
I got one more I want to get to before we get to another one of yours. I want to try and squeeze in two more before we're
Yes,
done.
absolutely.
I'll do this one quick. It's again, this is a great NPC one, and I feel like it can be used a couple of different ways, and I'll kind of blaze through it. But it's a favorite of mine, and that is the mentor. Having the character who is absolute mentor, this NPC, it's great because you can have this NPC who's wise and protective and takes the party under their wing early on, like Gandalf.
Yep.
And it's also the perfect NPC to have this really heart wrenching and emotional death scene that affects everyone, like
Mm-hmm.
Gandalf.
Yep.
Like,
Like
obviously,
Gandalf.
yeah. Gandalf is a great thing. I love Gandalf. We all love Gandalf, but
Just like we
another,
all love Baja Blast.
if you don't love Baja Blast, you're a
Who
liar.
are you? Yeah.
Like, just don't pretend. Taco Bell's wonderful. Get off your high horse.
Yep.
Get off your high horse about cuisine. I love Taco Bell.
Also, hey Taco Bell, pay us,
Yeah, wanna?
please.
We will
No.
do an
All right.
episode from Taco Bell. Um, I also
Anyway.
like I also like the mentor because it can be sort of this voice that the players can trust, like knowing, oh, okay, if this person says stuff to us or if they're delivering us information, they can send us on quests. They can be useful. It's like second campaign of Critical Role. The Mighty Nine had a huge string of L's. And so what does Matt Mercer
Yeah.
do? Brings in Allura from campaign one, who none of these characters had reason to trust. But every player at that table knew Matt is throwing us a bone.
Yep.
So they developed this relationship with Allura. That is another reason the mentor is a great character, because it can be like, oh, your mentor figure who you haven't seen in the last 3 months that we've been playing shows up and says this, directs you on a path. It's a good one to have for when your players seem lost. I would say
Yep.
make them a spellcaster so they have access to sending,
Yep.
and
Or
allow
just give
that.
them a lot of magic items that they pull out of a
Yeah,
large bag like Mary Poppins.
there you go. And the last way you can use the mentor in a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful way, and it actually ties right back in to my first one, the Dark Lord, is you make him the big bad evil guy.
Oh, yep.
You
Like,
have them betray the whole party, where the party brings them the relic that they've been
mhm,
searching, and now that it's in their clutches, everything takes a dark turn
yep.
as they reveal they've been the Dark Lord this whole time.
Knights of the
Um,
Old Republic, baby.
yeah, it's a great thing to do. I will say with that one, this is where you need to know your players. There are some players that if you did that storytelling wise, they'd feel betrayed by the DM. I'm not
Yep.
one of those, but I don't think those players are wrong. We're allowed to like
No.
storytelling how we like it. But you got to know the kind of story your players are signing
Hmm.
up for. In that session 0, talk about, hey, are you cool if an NPC betrays you at some point? Find out. If you have it in group where every single one of them is like, nope, I want this completely,
Yep.
this is good, this is evil, nothing gray, give them that.
Like
You can have
it's
a
like,
fun campaign that
you
way.
have characters, you have players that aren't big fans of being lied to.
Correct.
You know, like maybe there can be past trauma. Maybe they just don't like it. You don't
Yeah,
need to know that, but just
exactly.
ask and be like,
Yeah. And
"Hey,
honestly,
cool
and if they
betrayal."
say no, if they say no, I don't want characters to outright lie to me. In terms of like someone pretending to be good who's actually evil, I don't want to
Yeah,
deal with betrayal. Don't question their reasons. Just
yeah,
go, okay, I will make sure that doesn't happen to your character.
yep.
It's that easy. It's a game.
That
Everyone's
means
supposed to
it'll
have
happen to the barbarian, not you.
it's good. It's great when it happens to the barbarian because as soon as they figure out it's happened, they kill the problem.
Yeah, they really do.
Yeah.
They
Don't
Jason Mendoza that problem real hard.
just yeah. Don't betray the barbarian. If like
No,
if
betray the barbarian from a distance.
yeah. Oh man. Like, if your party allows PvP, which I don't, but if they do, and the rogue thinks they're clever, they're always going to steal from the barbarian. That rogue will get theirs. The day
Yep,
will come. The day will come where the perception check is high enough, and the rogue will die.
yep. Which is why betray the barbarian from a distance. Unless your
Why the
barbarian is like the one in my Icewind Dale campaign that has a penchant for enraging people that have javelins and then pulling those javelins out of his body and throwing them back.
That's amazing. I'm
It's
stealing that.
he does it a lot
I'm
because
stealing
the beginning of Icewind Dale, tiny spoilers. If you do things, um, we'll say not stealthily, for the
that.
lack of a better term, you will end up with a lot of enemies that have a lot of javelins looking in your direction.
It's very
Uh,
possible.
yeah. Anyway,
I know you've got at least one more, and
I
let's
do I do have one more, and
do it.
it's a big DM world building trope.
I'd like to hear it.
And I've seen it used well, I've seen it used very badly.
Sure.
Um and one of the reasons it's used very badly, or one of the reasons that it ends up being used very badly, is because DMs that use this don't think about what kind of system they're playing in. Because I've seen this used through many different systems or a version of it. And this is the trope of magic is gone. And
Yeah.
it's one that is, it can be very compelling, and in literature it's done very well, so it's really tempting, but it's tough to do if you don't think it through. And like I've seen it, the way that I've seen it done most successfully is in picking the right system for it. And
Yeah.
for that, use the Star Wars RPGs.
Yeah.
Star Wars
Or
RPGs, and play it where the Force is gone to your characters. That is a wonderful way to use that trope, because almost all of the other classes are still good and work just fine without the Force.
talking about that, another RPG system I would totally throw out there simply because the build of it, it's very similar to like a 3 or 3.5 D&D
Mm,
without magic. Joss Whedon can eat a dick, but the Firefly RPG system is really
yeah.
good.
The
I have
Firefly
the link.
RPG system is wonderful.
It is a very solid system in that it has no magic and you can build great characters in it. Like I would happily play in a campaign like that. I don't know if I would run it only because I'm super married to a certain character build that I want to play in it
Fair.
very badly. But I might be able to be convinced. But also that said, as great as that system is, and that Firefly RPG, it's really good. Again, I cannot emphasize this enough. Joss Whedon can absolutely eat a dick
Yep.
because fuck that guy.
Yeah.
And I will
Which
I will
sucks because
die
he's
on that
made
hill.
so many things I enjoy.
You gotta sometimes you have to separate the art from the artist, or
Yeah, but
just
I hate that trope.
I do too. I do too.
Uh,
But hey, there's another trope we can talk about. Separate the art from the
yeah.
artist. When you find out that a band you love did like shitty stuff at one time, and you're like, oh, but the music's so good. And so
Yeah.
you just make sure you obtain it from ways that will never give them money ever again.
Yep.
Or there's a lot of great music out there.
Or yeah, or just don't. Uh,
Yeah.
but so back on the trope of magic is gone.
Yes.
Uh, the reasons why people do it is really just because it's been seen in so many different forms of literature that are out there in existence that like the magic is gone, but like these like two or three people still kind of have it.
Yeah.
And that can be such fun, compelling play for your for any of the games at your table. But you as the DM have to plan so much more than you think you should.
Oh, so true.
Because you have to know, you have to think through why the magic is gone. What happened to make the magic gone? And specifically things that I wrote down that are great hooks for that are specifically having a the trope of the big bad evil guy, and he is actively suppressing all of the magic,
I like it.
like in Star Wars.
Yes.
Uh, and or you have some kind of like if we're talking like D&D and Pathfinder and fantasy settings, uh there's something that's specifically blocking divine magic,
Yeah.
'cause, severing the connection of people with their deities. Or one that I really like to play with when I'm homebrewing things
Yeah.
is that it's not that the magic is gone, but it's been forgotten because people have relied so much on just magic items rather than casting magic yourself.
Yeah.
So and you have to set up a world where like yes, everything used to be really really high magic and people got really good at really easily making magic items to do all these tasks. Like technology. It's a metaphor, you see, a
Yeah.
metaphor.
I think if anyone's going to try and do the whole magic is gone thing, but now it's like sort of coming back, replay Final Fantasy VI
Yep.
and just steal heavily
I
from
mean,
that
also just
story.
replay Final Fantasy VI because it's good. Uh,
Yeah, the story's brilliant. It's in contention for the second greatest RPG of all time.
First one is Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's Chrono Trigger.
Yep,
I don't
yep,
like
hands down.
and the thing is, like I've said twice before, I'll die on that hill. I don't need to because that's not a debate.
Yeah, no, that's just facts.
Not
That ain't email.
no. Wow.
Yep, that's
Wow.
one that I hear pretty constantly from my buddy KB. Shout out to you, KB. Uh,
Good joke. Good joke. Yeah.
and an email. That's facts.
But
Uh,
yeah. No, Chrono Trigger, greatest RPG of all time. And
can we get a
if you
Chrono Trigger pen and paper, please?
what's that?
Can we get a Chrono Trigger pen and paper?
Oh
That would
yes.
be fucking glorious.
I mean, the reason there's some time travel stuff in our campaign, it is my nod to Chrono Trigger because I love
Because
that game
it's so good.
so much, and it is perfect and it's brilliant.
It's
And
beautiful.
yeah,
And most importantly, Frog.
the best character in the game. I just
Like
he's
I know I play into many a bisexual stereotype, but Frog.
the story that you go on with that character and his actual reveal, you are just not ready for
It's
because
so
you're
good.
so sure you know who he is. The minute you're wrong and the truth comes out, you cry because it's
Oh,
fucking beautiful.
hands down.
But
Uh,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm with you. The whole magic is gone thing, it can be really cool, but another way that, because the idea of some of it's coming back, that probably means the DM. You're letting some of your player characters have classes that have magic. And if
Mhm.
you are trying to build encounters that are balanced, where the players have spellcasters and you don't,
You're
good luck.
you're gonna have a lot of characters in your fights.
Yes, because
You can have a lot.
the second the PCs just get access to the darkness spell,
Yep. Just
like
blip.
there, yeah, or sleep. There are a lot of low level spells that can completely alter a combat all the way.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that bard is 5th level, you say now? Well, cool. They have hypnotic pattern, and since you've established that none of these people are spellcasters, there's a good chance they don't have the saves to keep up with this.
And they're
And
probably not ready to deal with spells.
yeah, like they're your monsters are just going to get wrecked.
Mm-hmm.
Just going to get wrecked.
Yep.
Um,
That's why personally my favorite version of the Magic is Gone is that magic is slowly becoming technology,
yeah,
so that yeah, you don't have people that are spellcasters, but everyone's got a freaking wand of shield,
yeah.
you know? Or like it's like, "Oh yeah, these random peasants are just farmers." But you know what all of them have? A ring of mage armor because they don't
Yep.
want to wear armor while they're out tending the fields.
And in that case, just grab your Eberron book and read through it nicely because
Yo.
Eberron's a just amazing setting.
Yep.
So
And yeah, and that really brings me to the biggest, easiest way of making the Magic is Gone trope work is knowing what system and setting you're playing in
yeah,
and making sure that that is ready for this plan.
yeah. Or the other way it can work really well, I would say you could use like Game of Thrones as a template
Mm-hmm.
because there is a little bit of magic in Game of Thrones, very little. And so if you make it clear to your players, hey, you can't play a class that has spell slots.
Or at least like you can't play a class that has spell slots at first.
Yeah. And if you get people that are down with that, and you'll get groups that are down with that who are like,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, let's do it. Because
Like, all right, give me Arcane Trickster. Give
yeah,
me a character that multi-classes into Wizard later.
yeah. And you'll get those who are like, oh, what about healing spells? And I'll say, ideally, the DM plan for that is going to give you access to healing potions. Like,
Yep.
that's the biggest thing. I mean,
Or a lot of times to rest.
yeah, even piggybacking on that as a DM, maybe you have a group of players who all the classes are available and nobody picked a class with healing spells. Cool. Just make sure they have access to rests and healing potions, and you'll be fine. It's a good story.
Or don't and see what happens. They'll die. That's what happens.
They will. They will. And
Will die.
can have contingencies for that because yeah,
We see what kind of a DM I am.
yeah.
I don't give a damn about killing player characters.
I don't either. I care. I give a damn about the story moving forward.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't have a fear of killing a player character. As a DM, my greatest fear is the TPK because that ends the story unless you have a contingency plan.
See, and my brain always has the contingency plan ready of the City of Manifest, which I've talked about on the stream before.
Yep.
Like, it's the City of Manifest. It's my release valve.
So
Also, using the trope of, so you found yourself in hell. Here's how you can get your souls back.
what's it worth to you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's. I think that's a great trope to close on. If there
Yeah.
is a TPK, find those afterlife tropes. Beetlejuice. Look at what those two went through to get their house back, even though they were dead.
Yup.
They're still dead at the end of it. The Deetses
I haven't
still
rewatched-
live there.
I haven't rewatched Beetlejuice in forever.
That's worth the rewatch. If you ever want a fun back to back, it doesn't matter what order. Watch Tim Burton's Batman and Beetlejuice back to back, just to see the range of Michael Keaton at that point in his career.
I mean, just watching Michael Keaton in general, just
No, shout out to Michael Keaton, just brilliant actor, amazing. I
Anyway,
think Beetlejuice is the
we will
performance
get-
of his career. I'm not lying.
oh, 100%.
I love.
But
Beetlejuice.
we could talk forever about Michael Keaton, but we shouldn't because we're out of time.
to Trope. Running out of time.
Running out of time. My Spice Jars. My Spice Jars sex tape.
Oh, see, I thought you wrote like you were running out of time.
I'll be in that show eventually.
Rise up.
It's fine. It's fine. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Thank you all so much for doing all the internet things that will help make Twitch and YouTube happy with us and potentially get us YouTube Daddy's money. That would be great.
Which we deserve. Other people don't. We deserve it.
That's very true, but that's true about many things.
You're not wrong.
Also, oh shoot, should have done this at the top in announcements, but I forgot to do the announcements. We are planning to get to our 50th episode, and then take a little bit of a hiatus before we start our recorded campaign.
Weird.
Because that's a thing.
Yeah,
so
I
mean,
next campaign that we talk about our campaign a lot on here.
yeah.
The next one, the plan is to record our sessions and then broadcast those in chunks.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody who wants to can follow everyone on this journey that they're going to go on. Yep. I highly recommend it, not because I think the DM's amazing. The DM's all right. It's me.
I mean, the DM's fine.
DM does a good job. The players, however,
oh, we're a bunch of chuckle fucks.
You are, but what my favorite group. This story,
Fair.
this first campaign went places I could have never imagined, largely because of the choices you made, and ultimately, you all worked to move the story forward.
Yeah.
Even if there were times you were against each other. Shout out to Phoenix, who I think more than anyone else was very good at saying, I don't agree with this. We'll do it and we'll talk about it later.
Yep.
And let me tell you, as a player choice, that is how you move the story
strong
forward.
as fuck.
You just go.
But anyway,
yeah.
Anyway, we are doing, so we will get to our episode 50, which, if you're keeping track, this is episode 44. We will get to episode 50, and then we will take a bit of a hiatus while we get ourselves together enough to get that show broadcast. Gonna try to still do a one-shot a month through that, but that may change just due to schedules and life. I'm personally going to try to stream more video games on this channel, so at least there's something.
And I'm working on learning how to do that, so I may be joining you in that soon.
Good. But yeah, that will be happening. Just a big heads up for the future of this show.
As we try and make it into something more coherent.
Yep, and who knows if we'll come back to the talk show format after we start the campaign. That's just a thing that we're going to be playing by ear, honestly. Yes. But that's also what the hiatus is for, is figuring out what the hell we're doing next.
I know, right?
So with all of that said, again, thank you for watching. Please do the things for YouTube and Twitch so they can give us money. Yes, and please. What do we always say?
Do something nice for yourself this weekend.